Newcastle United, keep or sell with this team. I feel awful making a keep or sell video on a team that has achieved, which no other team has done in my lifetime. We have won silverware for the first time domestically in 70 years, and this is also a team that will likely be playing Champions League football next season. And I say likely, give a bit of context. I'm recording this video on the morning of the Everton game, so of course, if we mess it up on the day, Europa League football, it's still good European football, so I'm assuming for the sake of this video, we'll go into the Champions League, but if not, it's not going to change my decision on which players I think should stay and which players I think should leave Newcastle United this summer. And the reason why I'm recording this now is because I got so many videos planned this week, so please do hit that subscribe button if you enjoy the content. Massive summer ahead for Newcastle United. The ambition is going to continue to move up, and we have to also be ambitious on the pitch. This team, they've done what no other team has been able to do in my lifetime, but the reality is, with how competitive the Premier League is now, if Newcastle want to be able, season upon season, to be able to get to this sort of stage again, they do have to turn over. Some players will leave this summer, regardless of your FFP and your PSR. There'll be players on this list that will not be at Newcastle United next season, and that's just the sad part about football. But I'm here in this video to give you my opinions. You disagree, agree with anything, feel free to let me know in the comments section, and please do debate as well. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions. But for me, my honest opinion, I'm going to go through each player. We'll start off with the goalkeeper, Nick Pope. Now, I'm going to be honest about Nick Pope. I think he's heavily underrated at Newcastle United. Now, I feel like as a goalkeeper, it's so easy to criticise a goalkeeper when they make a mistake. But when Nick Pope has a quiet game or when Nick Pope has a good game, I don't hear a lot of praise about the guy. Now, I really like Nick Pope. I think he's a good goalkeeper, and it depends on our defence being able to help the guy out as well. But for the large part, since he's came back in from his injury, he's just got better and better. I think Nick Pope has got back into his stride, and he's been able to get quite a lot out of Newcastle. So for me, 100% keep. Newcastle are going to heavily bring goalkeepers in this. Someone will explain why shortly. But Nick Pope's top quality, 100% should be a part of our team next season. And Martin de Braga. This one's hard because Martin de Braga actually came in during Nick Pope's injury. And wow, he was astonishing. In fact, he actually signed a new contract at Newcastle just so Newcastle would be able to rely on this guy. He's turned down mega money to stay at Newcastle, and then Eddie Howe just took him out of the team to bring Nick Pope back in. Harsh, but in Eddie Howe's point of view, the correct call, because Nick Pope has been very good since he came back in. I feel harsh on Martin de Braga, but the Champions League football next season, or some form of European football next season, we need the goalkeepers. It's tough because it's either sell now, get a little bit of money for the guy, or we keep him one more year, second/third choice, and then we'll see out his contract and go next summer on a free. I'm going to sell now. I'm actually going to do it. I don't think Martin de Braga plays for Newcastle next season. There's someone like James Trafford coming in. There'll be a new second choice in there. Martin de Braga is, in essence, a third choice goalkeeper. I mean, what's the point? Let the guy go. We can get a little bit of money for him now. Not be a huge amount, but a couple £1 million, I think, in the long run for Newcastle and his FFP, needing player sales. That little bit will help Newcastle out long term. And I love Martin de Braga. I'm happy he's been able to end his Newcastle career on a real high. But for me, I would sell him now. I think a couple £1 million for him. I don't think you can argue with that. I think it's a decent price. Vlachodimos has to be the worst ever Newcastle United side in terms of value now. When you look behind the scenes, it's actually a fantastic sign because it stopped Newcastle from getting a points deduction. But when you look at the signing in terms of a player that is actually a signing, this guy doesn't even get into our bench. John Ruddy gets on the bench ahead of Vlachodimos, and I think that tells you everything you need to know about this guy. Eddie Howe clearly does not want him. But my opinion, starts the Greece national team. You can still get value for this guy. I still think there will be a team out there that will pay £7-8 million to bring Vlachodimos in. He's not, from what I've seen anyway, he's not the worst goalkeeper I've ever seen. I'm surprised his hierarchy at Newcastle being behind John Ruddy. That doesn't make sense in my personal opinion. But it's clear that Newcastle do not want him. I think that's probably an Eddie Howe message as well. Vlachodimos, I am convinced, will be sorted this summer. Good amount of money for him, considering the fact he's never playing for Newcastle. 100% sell. We don't want him. He probably wants to go elsewhere as well. It's just not worked out, this one. But it has stopped Newcastle from getting a points deduction. John Ruddy, just there to be the training ground goalkeeper, there to help pick the balls up when training. He's 100% staying. He's happy to be here. He's probably doing a bit of coaching in the background as well. A goalkeeper that's just there to fill the numbers. It's the same story, Mark Gillespie. He's a local lad as well. So behind the scenes, these will be a couple of great goalkeepers for actually being that good morale in the dressing room. They'll say the right things at the right time. They'll have good banter and good friendship groups with the players. They're just there just to do their job. Best job in the world, I'm going to be honest and say it now. But those two are there just to have a fantastic time. But they work hard behind the scenes, but never actually on the pitch for Newcastle United. Kieran Trippier, what a legend this guy is. Seriously, the first player who joined Newcastle after the takeover, had Champions League football at Madrid, walked away from Champions League football to join 19th for Newcastle United because he wanted Champions League football here. And it's the second time, I'm hoping, the second time in 3 years he's achieved this while winning his first trophy in this country. Wow. Considering the career Kieran Trippier's had, it's mental to say that, but his first ever trophy on English soil was at Newcastle United, and what a moment that was for him. 34 years old now, he 100% still has it. What a legend. 100% he is staying. Absolutely no chances he going anywhere. Keep him at Newcastle. This guy's a legend, and I want this guy to retire at Newcastle United. Tino Livramento has started to pick up a bit of interest from Manchester City. Unless the offer is something stupid like 80, 90 million pounds, I don't see Tino Livramento going anywhere. One for the future, the one that is going to, I would say, going to take over Kieran Trippier, but hell, the guy's already in the starting 11 now. I think he's a better left back than he is a right back, to be honest. It's quite strange because Livramento is meant to be more of a right-sided player, but I think he's far superior on the left. I think he's so good on the left, and when Lewis Hall comes back, that's going to be an issue because I think Livramento is so bloody good out there. So I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do this. Probably put Livramento back on the right and have Trippier be that backup option, and of course use him in your big Champions League matches. But again, that's a tricky balance to do. But 100% Livramento, he will stay unless there was an offer from a team like Man City that is just ridiculous and too good to turn down. But I'm hoping that does not happen. But in my opinion, he has to stay. Houseman Ashby's been out on loan again. This guy is essentially meant to be the Livramento sort of player when he's meant to come into Newcastle's team and be that one for the future. It's just never worked out. Been out on loan a couple of times now. He's been out to Swansea, and he's just a player that's never seemed to be able to take off. Newcastle haven't spent loads of money on the guy. I think we've gone for just under £2 million, but it's just a sign that's just never worked out for Newcastle. So for me, I feel like now is the correct time to sell him. We've given him a couple of chances, just hasn't worked out. For me, let's sell him now, get a little bit of money for the guy, and let's bring somebody else in that can hopefully potentially do a bit more on Houseman Ashby. Moving into the centre halves, we have to start with the man, Dan Burn. Goal at Wembley, player of the season, in my opinion, alongside Sandro Tonali. I think those two are the player of the seasons, in my opinion. Dan Burn, what a year he has had. My God, the footballing story is complete for Dan Burn. He has done what so many other players could have never done at Newcastle United, and this guy's had an unbelievable season. Came in for the injured Sven Botman, played the entire season. Dan Burn, and what a year he has had. 100% keep. In fact, we already gave him a new contract, so you know he's staying, but what a phenomenal season this has been. 100% from him, the best I've seen from any Newcastle player this season. Absolute class. Fabian Sharp is a bit underrated, I would say. I still think a lot of Newcastle fans love him, a lot of Newcastle fans speak highly about him, but when you talk about the two centre halves, I think Dan Burn gets all the attention, but Fabian Shaw, you have to put them neck and neck because I think Fabian Shaw's also been unbelievable this season. Both of these players are in their 30s, and that is a bit of an issue for Newcastle. We need to buy in and make sure we've got a younger centre half that can actually be fit and play. But Fabian Shaw, Dan Burn, these two just continue to amaze me. What a season they both had. 100% stay for Fabian Shaw. And speaking of the injured man, Sven Botman, it's just not been his year. There's been a lot of injuries for him. He's not been able to play in that ACL tear he had last season. He's just still struggling to come back and to get some real form going after that injury. He's obviously going to stay, let's not deny that. He's got a huge opportunity next season, but his injury's a bit concerning. So let's make sure next season we can get him playing well. We make sure he's fit. Let's just make sure, his point of view, is able to have a good time, because it's been a bit of a rough year for him. If you had asked me this question 5 years ago, that Emil Kraft in 2025 would still be performing for Newcastle off the bench and would still be making an impact for Newcastle, I would have been my mind would have been blown. But here we are, sitting here now, and I'm going to say, Emil Kraft, stay. He continues to impress me off the bench. Now, not every player is going to be a world beater. Not every player is going to be starting for Newcastle or coming into Newcastle's team and being the best in the team. That's just not feasible. Newcastle needs versatile players. They need squad rotation players. And they need players that just graft, give 100% and play well. Emil Kraft is all of those things, whether you like him or not. And I'm someone now that I'm gonna stand that hill. I'm gonna defend Emil Kraft, because I've been impressed every time he comes off the bench, works his arse off and does a job. That's the sort of player you want in Newcastle. I think he's a brilliant player for Eddie Howe. I think it's the exact sort of Eddie Howe mould you would say you want in a player. 100% Emil Kraft, you've deserved it. Enjoy next season. Jamal Lascelles, we already know, has had a contract extension, so we don't need to have this debate. Jamal Lascelles is staying next season. Someone that, again, a bit of a Botman situation. He's been unable to get back into Newcastle's team since tearing his ACL last season, but because of his extension, we know he's staying next season, so he has the opportunity next season with more games to play. They'll come back into our team that shows what he can do. Moving into the left backs, we'll start with the obvious one, Lewis Hall. Unfortunate injury just at the wrong time for him. A couple of weeks before that cup final, he was unbelievable going into that cup final as well. His form was sensational, and he was at that stage one of the players of the season, but he just got that injury at the wrong time. It's been a brutal one for him, but because of how good this team is, they're being able to turn it on and just to do the job, even without Lewis Hall. And Lewis Hall was a sensational player as well, so 100% stay, one for the future. He's already class now, but he is still one for the future. Matt Targett is not one for the future. This is just a sign that just hasn't worked out for Newcastle. He had a brilliant loan spell for us during a time when we were starting to come up from that takeover. And then we signed him from Aston Villa. He's barely played. He's not that good when he does play. And it's just a player where I just don't see him being able to progress at Newcastle. I think he's had that chance. I don't think he's going to have many more chances at Newcastle. And if there's a decent offer for him now, I would personally accept it. I would be willing to sell Matt Targett in this window. I'm not saying we have to 100% do it, but if Newcastle have a good offer, I would definitely look into doing it, because I think Matt Targett's a player now that, my personal opinion, fair enough if I'm wrong, but it's just not a player I really see being able to take Newcastle to that next step, or being able to help Newcastle out next season onwards. I just don't think he's good enough to do that. Jamal Lewis is out the door this, so I think it's fair to say that he's a player that, unfortunately, he's had a bit of an injury struggle over in Brazil, but again, he's a player that's just never going to get any game time at Newcastle. Hull was signing for what he was, £12 million back in 2019, is never being able to just do anything at Newcastle. And it's unfortunate because he had a lot of potential, but the potential has just fizzled out at Newcastle. It's just one of those signs that a bit of a what-if scenario, but it just never worked out at Newcastle. And I think it's best for him to find a different club now. Moving into the midfield, we got Bruno in the middle, our new club captain this season. What a captain this guy is. He just gets it. You wouldn't believe this is someone from Brazil, because he just acts like he's from the northeast. He's been from Newcastle his entire life. That's the mentality he has. He just gets it. Him and Joelinton both get it. And it's just something about Bruno, that club captain. It's got a real spark in the team. And at the time last season, it felt like a bit of a politics thing when they made Bruno the captain, because they wanted to make sure they could keep him at the club. But him as a captain works. It actually does work quite well. And 100% Bruno, yeah, for the future. Honestly, just handcuff this guy across the summer. Let's just make sure he goes absolutely nowhere. Let's make sure he does not leave Newcastle this summer. We're not doing it. 100% he's staying. One that is going to help us for many more years to come. And speaking of midfielders that have impressed me, Sadio Tonali. You have to remember, this is his first full season at Newcastle. He only played a couple of times last year before his betting gambling suspension. And he's back in the team now. This is effectively a new sign for Newcastle this season. What an impact he has made. He has truly been able to put the media to shame and to really be able to show off his ability and to being able to block all the noise out, and just to play football on the pitch. So aesthetically pleasing to watch. And alongside Dan Burst, I said earlier, my players of this season, what a player Sandro Tonali is. One that is really took Newcastle to that next level this season, considering we haven't signed any proper players in 2 years now for our first team. He's just took us from here to here. That's what a player like Sandro Tonali can do. He is never going to leave Newcastle as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, what a season he's had. Can't wait to see more of him next year. Absolutely class. Joe Linton, the £40 million flop striker signing. The absolute beast in midfield. Again, this guy continues to impress me. He does not seem to be letting it go one bit. He is going down as a club legend, and he's one of those players again. I'm going to be honest, I hope he retires at Newcastle. I really want to see this guy be able to retire at Newcastle and just see out his entire career at this football club. A true legend. And as I said before as well with Bruno, a player who just gets it. He gets the area, he gets the fans, he gets everything that Newcastle United is. And he just understands the club. And it's incredible because it's someone from Brazil. Again, you wouldn't necessarily expect somebody from South America to understand what Newcastle means to Newcastle United fans, but they just do. Absolutely class the pair of them, and I don't ever want to see any of these two leave in my lifetime. Lewis Miley's someone that hasn't been able to play an awful amount this season, but squad rotation player. He's still quite young. You've got to remember, I think, what's he, 18, 19 now? He's still 5 years younger than me, so this is someone that has a lot of potential. He's already been able to get a lot of experience from being such a young age, and he's someone that I think will take Newcastle quite far. I think in his personal ability, next season is going to be a big year for him because now with European football, more games to play, he's going to play a lot more and he's going to play in big stages as well. So for Lewis Miley, massive year next season for him, but he will stay for now. I'm convinced that we will keep him. This is the tricky one, the Joe Willock versus Sean Longstaff debate. I think one of these two players will leave Newcastle United this summer. Longstaff will probably bag you more value because of the fact he's a homegrown player. But I'm not convinced by Joe Willock. I'm going to be honest now. I'm not the biggest Joe Willock fan. This season, he just hasn't impressed me when he's played. He has regressed a bit this season. Joe Willock, when he plays, he just doesn't make a massive impact. He's not a player that I'm fully convinced by. And Sean Longstaff, we need to essentially keep anywhere of these UEFA guidelines where you've got to keep a certain amount of homegrown players. You've got to keep your club-grown players. Joe Willock's a player, but if we get a decent offer for him now, I would accept it. I'm going to be honest. Joe Willock is actually the one out of the two I would potentially let go. It's tricky because I understand the Longstaff debate at the same time. And Longstaff doesn't even play for Newcastle now, whereas Joe Willock, despite his, I guess, drop off in form, still does play for Newcastle on a decent basis. So it probably tells you Eddie Howe's opinions on the pair of them. I'm not convinced by Joe Willock, though. I'm going to be honest. I'm a bit strict on him now. He's been at Newcastle for a long time. I just don't think he's had a great season. Then again, Sean Longstaff hasn't even played. When he's played, he hasn't impressed either. So it is literally the debate of which one would you sell this summer. I'm leaning towards Willock for now, but I'll go back and forth, to be honest. So one of them will stay, one of them will go between Longstaff and Willock. Which one would you guys make? I feel like a lot of you guys are probably going to say Longstaff, but again, I can understand why you would say either player. It's a tricky one, but one of these will go. I'm convinced it's going to happen. Moving on to the right-hand side of the attack, one player. We have one player that will play on the right for us, and thank the Lord, he has been amazing this season. Jacob Murphy, I say how, out of disrespect, actually. I know how, because Jacob Murphy's been class this season. He's been so good this season. He's been able to seriously prove his doubters wrong. I'm going to be honest, a year and a half ago, I was a bit of a Murphy doubt. I wasn't getting the goal contributions for Newcastle. He wasn't the player that I really felt like at the time was going to be a player that was going to progress and become this absolute monster at Newcastle. But yeah, one of them players, fair play, he's got it together and he's been able to get the numbers, not just an assist. I think it's easy to say, oh, he's got the assist for Isak. Isak's so good, he's going to get those assists no matter what. Jacob Murphy's got the goals as well, 9 goals this season. You can't argue with that. That's good goal contributions from a winger. You have to accept the fact that Jacob Murphy, behind Mohamed Salah, is the second best this season in terms of outputting goal contributions. Mental. Absolutely mental. Fair play to Jacob Murphy. Our only right-sided player. It's a good thing he's been good this season because we need to seriously be able to bring some players in there. On the left-hand side, we start off with Anthony Gordon. Anthony Gordon's a player that's been a bit tricky for me because that red card against Brighton, that stupid elbow against Brighton, kept him out for this cup final. And since he's came back in after that cup final, I haven't liked his performances. I think he's got a bit of a, I'm not saying lazy mentality, but I think he's got a thing about him where when it just goes where it's like, oh, you can just tell when he gets frustrated on the pitch, he just kind of stops fully getting into the game. And it's one of them ones where he just does my head in. When the game doesn't go Newcastle's way and you got this sort of, I guess you call it a guy that's a bit frustrated on the pitch, does my nutting. I didn't like him at all at the Arsenal away game. It did my head in a little bit. And it's someone where I've got a close eye on him. Again, he still needs to be able to come back into Newcastle's team to be able to help the team out, because I think out of the two left-sided players, I think Harvey Barnes had a better season than Gordon. I'm going to be honest. Gordon has done well and has had a good season before the red card, but ever since that red card, he's not been able to do anything really for Newcastle. He hasn't been great since he came back in. Gordon 100% going to stay, but if there's a mental offer, again, like another mental situation, we have a mental offer coming in from Liverpool and he's talking 80, 90, 100 million, then yes, I'll be inclined to have that conversation, but it's unlikely to happen, so he'll stay for now, but needs to improve next season. And Harvey Barnes, as I just said before, had a very good season. Considering that he's probably the second choice to go on, I think Barnes has actually been the better of the two players this year. Barnes, for me, is the number one, in my opinion, at this moment of time. He should be starting ahead of Gordon, and from being able to play for Newcastle, he's scored big goals in big moments, and the goals that he's scored have got Newcastle massive points in the league table. Good team player, good behind the scenes. Harvey Barnes, I like him a lot this season. I think he will stay. And finally, moving into the striker, we will start with the main man, Alexander Isak, one of the world's best. I don't think that's biased to say. I think he is up there with the world's best strikers at this moment of time. Class. He's got something about him when he moves with the ball. It's just you can't teach this sort of thing. It's so technically gifted. His runs are phenomenal. His actual awareness of football pitch is next level, and his scoring ability, wow. 25 in all competitions last season, 20 plus again this season. That's what you get from a player of his value. Absolutely class, unsellable. No one in this world, doesn't matter what price it is, there is no price in a player like Issa. Newcastle need to keep a hold of him this summer, and I think we will keep a hold of him this summer. Callum Wilson, I think his time is up. He's had a very good career at Newcastle. I think now it's easy to forget over the last couple of years because of the fact he hasn't really played much and he hasn't been able to score many over the past 2 seasons. But it's easy to forget 3 years ago in the league, this guy bagged just under 20 goals, not to mention during the Bruce times. This is a guy that was keeping us in the league. This was a guy that was helping the foundations to what we have now. He's had a good time at Newcastle, but I think he's had a few too many injuries. I think his pace is gone. I think he's a bit past it, and I think I don't want to say it because I think it's harsh to say it, but I think he is a bit washed now. He just isn't that good anymore. I don't think he's Premier League level anymore. I think it's time to let him go. I feel like a bit of an arsehole saying that, but you've got to be honest. I think we have to be ruthless. If he's a part of Newcastle's team next season, I just don't think he's going to make an impact for us. That's just my opinion. Obviously, don't take it personally. Don't ever take anything I say about any of these players personally, but I just don't think he's good enough anymore. I think the injuries are too much for him, and from what I've seen of him this season, he hasn't been able to perform, and that's just a truthful response for me. And our last player, William Osula, one for the future. From the little sparks I've seen him this season, I've liked him, but I felt like he should have got a bit more game time. I still feel like he hasn't had an awful amount of game time for Newcastle this season. Eddie Howe probably still not quite thinking he's ready yet, and fair enough. I would trust his judgment more than mine, but I feel like William Osula has more of a chance. He will get more of a chance next season when we play more matches. But from what I have seen of him, quite a promising player. He does have something about him. He clearly has something in his game. It's just about tuning it all together and getting his best attributes out of other areas as well. But yeah, this is definitely a player I think is going to achieve a bit in Newcastle. I think we'll be able to continue doing well, and I think it's a player that will make an impact for Newcastle. I see the potential in this guy, and I think you guys do as well. I like William Osula, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you do next season. But for me, that was it in terms of our keep or sell. Not many players I would sell. That seems about right. Newcastle already have the player sales all sorted this summer, so we can actually spend for once. And of course, this team obviously won silverware, finished high in the league table. It was always going to be a case where not many players are going to go, but I felt like I've done it right. I feel like the goalkeeper situation is probably going to be the biggest one. I reckon one midfielder will go, Wilson will go. But other than that, that's basically it. It'll just be a clean out of players that we've had out on loan. Isaac Kane, he's still somehow at the club, so he'll be cleaned out as well, unless he has one more year, which I feel like he might have 1 more year, actually, which is still ridiculous. But yeah, we'll clean out the players that we need to clean out. But that's it from Newcastle now. That's us all sorted. That's us ready to go for what is going to be a hectic summer, what is going to be a hectic time in Europe next season. I can't wait for it. Apologies if I've seen a bit off in this video. I still have just been recovering from an illness. So, yeah, I'm still a bit off for now. But I think the next couple of days, I'm going to be 100% fine. So, bear with me. Enjoy it. Enjoy the ride and enjoy where Newcastle will be taking us. Take care, and we will see you all in the next one.